Hey there, guys. Fat Guy's back. I wanted to get back to the roots of what I started this channel for, and that was, well, one of the reasons I started this channel. Mostly to do whatever the hell I want, but also to show people that it doesn't take a lot of money to get prepared. So, well, it does, but you can do it in cheap increments. Anyway, I wanted to talk about field knives. A field knife is something that you want to be able to depend on. So a lot of people usually spend a lot of money on them. When you're looking for a field knife, you want something that will that you know will hold up to heavy use, to being used as an axe, all the way down to cutting your dinner. It has to be able to do multiple purposes. And what we have here is a Gerber strong arm. This is about a $70 knife, and it's widely hailed by many, even snobbish knife owners. I ended up getting this one for free, or well, not free. I traded for it, but it was a couple knives that I really didn't care about. Anyway, this is a very good knife. I've batoned with it. I've put this thing through hell. But you're looking for something with a nice thick, well, I like a nice thick tang to it, and you want that tang to be full tang. This one you can't see very well. This one I can't remember how much I paid for, but as you can see, the same metal that's in the blade is going all the way through the handle down to here. That helps with a lot of prying motions. You know, basically you want that thing to be a nice hard piece of steel. So these things are something you want to look at in a knife. Also the edge. These both have great edges on them. This one, as you can see, is pretty much in pristine condition. I haven't really used it. I have it in my bug out bag, but I really should take it out into the field somewhere. And of course, this one I had to put the edge back on because, well, I beat the living crap out of it. Although I didn't have to do much. I mean, I basically had to hone the blade back again and, you know, run it through the strop, and it was pretty good. Will shave hair off your arm. That one does as well, the fancy looking thing. So, those knives are, this one I think was relatively inexpensive. But what can you get for something that's really on a budget? So, to me, on a budget is $10. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but $10 is what I want to go for this particular video. And this one kind of now falls out of that. I think it was $10, maybe. Might have been $14, but I wanted to add it because it is a somewhat easy knife to come across. And it is from Universal Survival Technologies. Of course, I redid the handle on this one. And that's another thing. When you're paracord handle knives, I'm starting to learn, is not really the best object. The best thing to do is get you a good knife, maybe with a good handle, and then wrap some paracord around it. Gives you a little more grip, and takes a little reverberation out if you end up chopping with it, which you really don't want to chop too much with a knife anyway. I know that's what the whole Bowie knife thing was all about, but it was just a large knife. So it's kind of like having a machete, and a machete is meant for that. This is a utility knife. This is something you're going to want to have as a tool for a lot of smaller projects, but you don't want to have to build a house with it, but you want it to be able to if you can, if you have to. So this one falls under this category because, well, full tang, obviously. Nice, thick handle, or thick tang. It does drop to a clip point here. So, you got to be wary of that, because once it starts getting thin, that's a more weaker part of the knife. So this one's good for drilling, if you need to. Not a big fan of serrades anymore. I've found that if you needed something like that, it's best to carry multiple tools. Because every tool, be it a knife, a hammer, a firearm, all of them are designed for different jobs in mind. So, yeah, get what you can to cover the jack of all trades if you can. But also remember that each job has a specific function, and you may want to carry a different knife for that function. Sorry about that. Anyway, these knives all can be found for under $10. This knife, this is obviously not the sheath that goes with it, because I've had it forever. You can see there's still wood embedded in this saw handle here, or saw back. Again, something I'm not a fan of anymore. I used to think this knife was the crap, and it's not crap, but it's not the best knife in the world because of that. Tore up plenty of batons trying to even just baton with this thing, even though it is a good batoner because of, look how thick that tang is. And of course, paracord knife goes all the way through. This comes with a cheap cord, which I'll show you an example of later, because, well, I'll just show you. Anyway, this is made by Survivor. Come on. Yeah, stainless steel, U.S. custom designs, then they send it off to China to be forged. But yeah, this is made by Survivor. They make a couple different knives. Some of them have this thick of an edge, and one of them is actually one of my favorite knives, but I don't know where it's at right at the moment. But it also comes wrapped with a cheap cord. So for these, I would definitely recommend wrapping into a paracord handle. And 2 or 3 layers, you get a nice thick handle you can get a good purchase on, and it's not a bad knife. And knives are like firearms. You'll find people with tons of different philosophies. I'm just giving you mine. I am obviously not a expert, but just something to think about here. This is a Mora knife. Now, Mora knives, this one's $10. They come from $10 all the way up to like 50 or 60, something like that. Each designed for different things. This is their utility knife, mostly meant for construction work, which, here in the U.S., this is a Swedish-made knife, of course, but here in the U.S., when you talk utility knives, we're talking about something like this. But, and this is a good thing to have in your EDC bag, of course, because, if you have a job that's opening up a lot of boxes or something, pretty good, but I wouldn't try to, take down an animal with it, or cut down a tree or anything like that. Still a decent cutting implement. But each of these Mora knives are a good deal because, one, for a $10 knife, you get a nice hard sheath, a sturdy handle, even though it's not full tang. I would prefer full tang, but I think the tang comes down to here. And this is carbon steel, high carbon steel, as opposed to stainless. I prefer stainless because I don't have to worry about, the knife getting corroded. If I accidentally get it wet and accidentally put it away and forget about it, But also, every knife I'm showing you, except for the ones that I've used, of course, all have their original edges on them. All factory edges. And as you can see, they've been doing pretty well. And that was factory. So, and these also come with one that's called the Companion, which I believe is more of their bush crafting knives. And it comes with a 90-degree spine, which is important. This one I actually did do a modification to. I took a file to it and tried to get it as close to 90 degrees as possible by hand. I don't have a vise or anything, but originally you can't really do much with a ferro rod with that. But you can make yourself look like an idiot on YouTube if you claim to have cut this down. Alright, you want the edge of that 90-degree angle going into it, and there we go. Finally. Anyway, you can finally get it to take it down. And you've probably seen me use the edge back in the days. If I was showing this, that's because I was more of an idiot then than I am now. The more you learn, the more you grow. So, Mora knives are pretty good. A lot of people actually like to take these and add things to the sheath, like putting a ferro rod and maybe some matches and stuff like that, and then wrapping it all in paracord. I'll probably do that because I have one of the companion knives, but that falls above our $10 limit, and I wanted to try and stay as close to that as possible. So let's take a look at the newest ones I got. First one we're going to look at is the Grand Way. I think most of these I bought on Amazon or eBay. Or all of them I bought on Amazon or eBay, but I think this one was an eBay one. Or an Amazon one, sorry. And I've looked at them, of course. Thoughts on this one? Again, factory edge, shaved perfectly. Very shiny. Softer steel than what I would like. However, this would make this a great fillet knife, or close to a great fillet knife. I am going to be testing these in a later video. And see that little insert? That becomes a pain in the ass trying to put that in. It always gets in the way. So, yes, it's $10, but this is not my favorite out of the group. I'm not even sure that's real wood there, but looks beautiful. And that goes with this one too, with the whole keeping multiple knives thing. This isn't a big, thick blade, so I don't know how it's going to feel going batoning. However, if you ever watch Dual Survivor, Cody Lundeen, who is somebody that I really like, he carries an older version of this knife, which also would not be full tang. It would be very similar to this. And he batons that thing all the time. He uses it for everything survival. So, at least he did on that show. So I'm not sure what if he has other multiple knives that he carries. I'm sure he does. But that one is a good knife for him. So, you know, I would carry multiple knives. I would probably carry this in my camping gear because it looks good. It is a good utility knife. It's designed for construction work, apparently, or handcrafting work. So, I mean, yeah. Alright. Can't remember what this one was called. I don't know if it really had a good name to it. It's just a hunting knife. Right Edge is the company that makes it. And something I can tell you about this knife that I don't like is the weight. The Mora knife weighs more than this knife does, even though they look like they're about the same. And, it's got a good looking blade. The edge is good. I would like a thicker tang myself, but we don't know what that's going to be like until we put it through the test. And I'm kind of curious as to if this is full tang or not. I'm kind of thinking it's not, but I very well could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. It's a very good feeling knife in the hand, although, again, a little light. So, personal preference, I don't like that, but until we start testing, we won't know how this thing handles. Now, it does give a little more than what I'd like. I'm trying to do that without slicing a finger or shoving it through my hand or something like that. But yeah, we'll find out. Although that is a nice sheath and it has a nice reclining, retention to it. So we'll find out if this is a decent knife or not. Now, something I just got yesterday that I kind of like is this little M-Tech. Now, M-Tech makes a lot of different knives. A lot of them they do market as survival knives. And you're going to find a whole bunch of different shapes and gimmicks and crap like that. I tried to go through what I could find and find a knife that was a decent utility knife, decent looking utility knife, I could say. Whether it is a good one, I wouldn't know. But anyway, we'll look at this bad boy, or bad girl, I would say in this case. And to tell you the truth, I'm actually a little more impressed with this knife than what I thought I would be. Alright. Trying to get a little, wood gel. Look at it. Thank you. Alright. Now, I was telling you about that cheap-ass cord. This is the cheap-ass cord that most of those knives come wrapped in. It's this crap. I kept it on there just to show you the crap that you would see on most of these knives. So this one would be wrapped in it. Then a couple of their other ones. Let me see. Hold on. Alright. Found it. This one. This is a really good knife. I love this knife. I love Tanto. Really thick. This is a good EDC knife. But it, too, was wrapped in this kind of shitty cord and, needed replacing. But the knife itself is really sturdy. And once you add an edge, because this one had somewhat of a nice edge, this one, it could cut stuff, it could cut paper, but, you were hoping for something better. Anyway, let's look at this girl. And see, that pink comes out beautifully with that nice dark matte black blade. And forgive all the heavy breathing, I am a little fat guy here. Anyway, handcrafted in China. And to tell you the truth, I don't know. I think this might be a decent knife. Now, say if you were a young lady who bought this knife, obviously these knives, you want to work your way up. You want to get one of these just to get you through a few seasons, and then you can eventually get you a better knife. But anyway, this thing feels really good in the hand. Everybody talks about balance on a knife, which can be good if you want to throw the thing, but the balance point's right here. And that's also because you have this composite handle, which adds to the weight of the knife. and it feels really good. I would love to feel a heavier part in the handle, but that's just the way it is. And you could, of course, take this off to become a paracord handle, but why would you do that? My thought would be, if you were going to give this to a special young lady in your life, and yes, knives are a very romantic gift, I would wrap it in paracord. I would do this. Gives you a nice. I would actually wrap it in the paracord sheath. You know, this actually has full paracord just to help with the shock absorption. But I would wrap this in a paracord sheath to give it some traction, because as it stands now, this would be slipping out of her hands all the time, especially if it gets wet. So, you know, I would definitely wrap this thing. I mean, yeah, I put a good edge on this thing, and I definitely would take it camping and give it to somebody as a camping knife or whatever. I think I paid around $8 for this, so not bad. Looks like it has a nice sturdy tang to it. Doesn't seem to want to give too much, actually at all. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this goes up to batoning and prying and all that kind of stuff once I put some kind of test to it. Anyway, probably not doing a lot of editing during this, so sorry it turned out so long. But this is just an introduction into some cheap knives you can get for under $10. So hopefully you guys found something you like. Don't know if I'll have all the links to these or not, but they shouldn't be really hard to find on either of those sites. I know researching for these two, for this one, I found this knife quite a bit, and this knife quite a bit. So, and both these knives have been out in the field. They've helped me camping. I've loved both of them. So, anyway, time to cut it off. Talk to y'all later. See ya.